All right, time to play. It's running with wartime, game time. Me and Drew back at it. This isn't running. This isn't Monday Night Means Part Two. We will have Chris Pennant joining us momentarily, but we just getting in a quick session of running here this Tuesday evening. A lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about here in Chicago and elsewhere in the NBA. A couple of big stories still permeating. A couple of intractable situations. Although there does seem to be movement with Ben Simmons, but we still trying to figure out what's going on with Kyrie. But on the more conventional level with the play, keeping it on the court. Of course, Chicago got a lot to feel good about right now with the Sky being up 1-0 in the WNBA finals. Hopefully Chris will be on so we can get into that with more detail in a minute. But also we haven't talked quite about the Bulls yet, and I'm going to try to give some of our first impressions of the new look Bulls and during this hour as well. But here's Chris joining us, and Chris, like me, repping the dear departed Sox. R.I.P. for the 2021 season at least.
I was going to say, yeah, because
if you want to get something off your chest with that, we can do that.
No, man, fuck the Astros, man. Those cats are some assholes, bro. They are. I really wish it wasn't the case, but they are.
Look, I hate it too, man, and I hate seeing them in Boston in the ALCS. But I am gonna say this, man. You don't get to 5 straight league championship series by banging on garbage cans. So
but they got to at least 2 straight by doing that. So
well, you'll get to 5 straight though. I don't think they got to this one as much as the Tapero wanted to bring up.
Like I don't think he should have said that. No, he shouldn't have said that. That was that was a little bit much. But no, man. You know what sucks the most? I like Dusty Baker. I've liked Dusty Baker since he was managing the Cubs, honestly. Since he was with the Giants, since he was with the Cubs. And I wanted him to get a ring just to prove to people that he knows what he's doing, even though I already know he knows what he's doing. And, man,
he willingly took on a shit situation down there.
It's true, but it's still like they had these guys, And
the talent, outside of the talent, but you're right there. They do have a lot of talent still.
But man, with that bunch of fucking assholes, man.
Would you like to sign one of them though next year?
I know Correa got the free agency deal, and they need a better infielder, so maybe. But I don't know.
I'm all for Correa.
He would probably jive with the.
I think he muted himself.
Yeah. Well, he's not.
I heard another. I could make out another fuck the Astros though.
We can't hear you, man.
Hold on. My headset. Let me check it.
Okay, you can hear you a little bit.
Microphone had to switch. Switch that microphone.
We couldn't hear you, but we heard "fuck the Astros" loud and clear. Were you at the game? Now. Yeah,
I was at the game.
Okay.
It was. I can't just say fuck Houston because our coaching staff put us in that spot. You got to get better from your starters. You got to get more than 12 innings total over a 4-game set from your starters, and 4 of those were Lance Lynn in Game 1. So I don't know what happened. You're resting guys. You're Ethan Katz is the new dude on the block who's supposed to be getting more out of guys, and to some degree he did. But that was a weak second half of the season and just a bad showing, man. And I know the guys who are the position players are upset, and they should be. You know, you got how many extra base hits out of 25 hits or so?
Right.
5.
Pretty much in game 3. In was that 3? Game 3, right?
Game 3.
Yeah.
And then the extra base hits they got today were Sheets. The rookie, bro. The rookie got you your 2 big hits.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of him though in 2022 and Vaughn and the team is still a young team overall, at least in its everyday players. You know, I'm kind of worried about the pitching and where it's gonna go, but at least the starting pitching, not the the bullpen is straight. But the starting pitching, I'm a little worried about that. But I think, like I said, with the position players, we got mostly youth, and it's still a lot of power in the lineup. Like I said, a nice little a nice little boost in the middle infield would be nice. But and a little more depth maybe, but coming off the bench. But we'll see. There's no reason to give up. These things are hard. It takes time with these things. So, it's a second straight year now being knocked out of the division series, as it were. It's a little different. This format's a little different last year, but still was the first round. And I don't know. What do you think about bringing back Tony?
About bringing back who? Bringing back Tony? Nah, I'm cool on that. I'm definitely cool on that. I'm worried about a Brave, man. He's going to be a year older, potentially 2, if there's a labor stoppage. And there could very well be a labor stoppage. That's the crazy part. This could have been.
And we took the one run before that stopped one run before with the Sox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that killed my baseball fandom for a while too.
That Sox team was in position, man. Even with the Indians as good as they were in position to compete. Then they came back in '95 and were a shell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, you spoke about the pitching staff. What do you guys think about Rodon? Like, this dude had a career resurgence, and then that fatigue, arm soreness kind of just took him out. I know he's not under contract next year. Keuchel, I'm not sure about his contract status, but those two.
Keuchel they'll probably move on from Keuchel.
Keuchel for different reasons, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rodon, hopefully this was just a thing for this year. Maybe, he can, it's not really a structural arm thing, I don't think. So
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, so he could just get some rest and, hopefully he'll come back stronger next year. I think between him, Lynn, and Cease, you got a good top 3. You got to think of, like say some upgrades beyond that, and see, maybe Lopez can be like a in and out guy, or maybe he can make himself into a decent number 4 or number 5. But I think you got to look to the free agent market and see. I don't know about the farm right now, but if there's anybody coming up, or maybe I don't know, maybe a Crochet, maybe he can formulate into a starter by next year. But
Kopech?
I think so.
Can he bump into?
He might be more promising even there. Yeah. So there may be some options there, but I would like to see them spend some money if they can. Act like a big league team and see. Like the Cubs, when they were in this situation, a comparable situation, they went and got a straight up postseason killer in John Lester. So if you the Sox, you may want to think of a similar move. See who's out there. I'm off the top of my head, I can't think of nobody, but that type of move you might want to make, whether it's with a pitcher or an everyday player. Maybe I know a lot of people would probably like to see like a Nick Castellanos
It would be nice, right? They can pick that dude up.
Yeah, so that could be a nice move as far as the everyday lineup. But yeah, the upgrades need to be made because when you look at this series, and like I said, you compare yourself not only to Houston, but they wouldn't have beat either one of those teams. I don't think they would have beat anybody who was in the playoff rotation in the playoff area, I should say. And that's including the Yankees and maybe even they probably cut it off at the Yankees, but they wouldn't have beat Boston. They wouldn't have beat.
I don't think they would have. They would have had a better chance against Boston than the Yankees for sure, because they just couldn't. Even with the Yankees, flaming out the way they did, they just could not beat that team this year. And they played Boston tight. They played Boston tight
in the regular season. Yeah, but I'm just saying the way if they played the way that they played against any team. They just didn't play to win in this series except for Game 3 when they fell back. Though that was the only time. So we got to see more. We got to see more from them.
You spoke about them being aggressive. I mean, it would make little to no sense for them not to be when Hahn kind of went as far in as he could at the trade deadline with the moves that he made. So it wouldn't make any sense to not keep that kind of mentality going forward.
Sure,
we'll see.
Yeah, sure. That's a little post-mortem on the White Sox.
It's my fault if this is shout out this can though. This can is cold.
Yeah. Where you get that from?
They put these out last week, so I went to Tony's on Fullerton. They had it.
Okay. Yeah, that
probably got it in Mariano's though.
Yeah. That look dope. Drink your pain away a little bit.
Hey man, we're gonna be cracking these for the sky on Friday though. Bet that.
Hey, yeah. Like I say, Soxtober is prematurely over, but Skytober is still in effect, and it's looking pretty good. 1-0 up in the finals, and I haven't got to talk to you since then. Chris, you have been wrapped up in the Sox stuff since Sunday, but I saw you on Twitter. You were trying to get. Were you out? You were out there at the park while the game was on. Were you trying to see how you could watch the game?
I got there. I went to my friend's place and I got there late because I thought the game started I thought the basketball game started at 3 and it started at 2. So I missed. Actually, I think it started at 1. So I missed.
That was 2. It was 2.
Okay. Well, I missed the first half and a good amount of the third. And I had to come back and watch. I watched the fourth and watched after. But, man, I was like, damn. I really missed most of this.
Yeah, it was a good game. You ain't really missed nothing in the first, but the second quarter when they got going, man, they was that 17-2 run to close out the first half really got them in control, and they really didn't let up much in the second half. Phoenix was able to get some, get a little bit in, but they kept on defending well, and they just had more energy. There's some issue of just how fatigued the Mercury were, but Taurasi said it wasn't about that. They were just getting outplayed, and you could see that. The way that again the Sky was carrying over so much of what they did well against the Sun. Scoring in transition, stealing the ball, stopping, making good stops in the half court defense, and like I say, stealing the ball and getting out in transition. And rebounding, getting rebounding from their bigs and from Copper. They were doing it, and Candace was there making plays and stuff, and everybody was putting in like you would want them to, and it was a very good performance.
Yeah, they extended. You talked about that 17-2 run. They extended it into that, I think, a minute into the third quarter to make it a 21-2 run. Where the Mercury, I think, turned the ball over 6 times and missed 7 shots. The Sky held them, I think, 8 rebounds or so below the season average. Turned them over 5 more times than I think they had in the regular season as well. So it obviously it wasn't a wire-to-wire win, but like you said, once they kind of got that groundswell of momentum behind them, it just felt like the game was in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I was yesterday. We talked a bit about this on Monday Night Memes, and we was with Phil Thompson. Phil tried to calm me down some, but I'm holding to it. I think that the series is theirs to lose, and I think that they can get it. Tomorrow probably will be a hard test because you got a home team that's going to be trying to avoid an elimination situation if they lose. But having 2 games at home after that, that's an ideal situation if you were starting this championship series on the road. So I think by game 4, I think they'll get it done. But you got any thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, I wanted to ask what Phil was saying. Why he said you should calm down just because it's too early.
Yeah, I guess so. In general, yeah, but he was he was big enough. The of course Phoenix got a lot of talent. They got 3, big. They got a big 3, a literal big 3, and then in the game and Skylar Diggins Smith and and of course Taurasi, who we gonna talk a little bit about the GOAT. The GOAT argument for her and Candace in a minute, but and of course Brittany Griner. But they got a lot of but yeah, that was the main thing I think that he jumped out with me was with Taurasi and her, maybe as cold-blooded a playoff competitor as there's been in the WNBA. She had that impressive performance in Game 5 of the series against Vegas to close that out. But I think what you saw in Game 1 was, they negated her and Griner to a good degree, where if you playing catch up enough, even if you snap in that fourth quarter, it's only going to make so much of an impact. You gotta if you can get out to the type of leads and have the type of streaks that the Sky looks like they can get right now because of how effective their defense is. They're starting everything from their defense and the rebounding. They're controlling possessions and they're not allowing you to get the shots that you want as an opponent. I think it's going to be a hard time even for Diana Taurasi to get the shots that she's going to want to be able to have those type of that type of quarter like she had against the Aces. And Griner wound up having decent numbers, but she wasn't a factor for about half of that game. So if they can contain her, much like they did John Quell Jones in the last series, then I think the Sky got bigs and they could throw them at you. So that's I just think everything is working for them. You got the injuries on the other side too for Phoenix, Kia Nurse being out. I think that's a big loss for them. So yeah, I'm feeling really good for this guy.
Yeah, and there's nothing against Phil. I think he's got the right idea because you never want to count your chickens early. But I was talking to James when he did the Skyhook. Shout out to my man James, who's got the freelance gig for the Tribune.
Yeah, that big up to James. Yeah,
out in Phoenix for this. But we looked at it after Game 1, and we didn't really see any holes other than the bench. I think the bench play could be better. And that's after Steph Dolson put up 14 points and hit 2 threes. Like, she had her best game of the playoffs on Sunday. So they could use more from Diamond. And Phoenix was good at hounding the backup point guards with Lexi Brown and Dana Evans. They weren't really too effective when they came in. And Diamond had an off game. But all 6 of those players outside of them who played, Copper, Dolson, Stevens, Parker, Vandersloot, Quigley, double figures. Everybody scored 10 points or more. And it's hard for them to stay off the scoreboard in this playoffs. They're getting their shots up. They're shooting threes with confidence. They're making plays in the half court, which was their Achilles heel before getting Candace Parker and through a lot of the season, was generating half court offense. And they've been able to do that against not just Phoenix, but against Connecticut and against Minnesota and Dallas. without Kia Nurse, I think Phoenix is really they've lost a great floor spacer. And Sophie Cunningham's going to be back, but she's not yet that caliber of player if she's going to be the Kia Nurse is in terms of being able to space the floor. And so when you have that, Skylar Diggins-Smith, who's a good slasher, can't be as effective because this guy can sag off and close down driving lanes. And Diana Taurasi is still hurt. You know, she's playing, but she's playing hurt. She's on a bad ankle. So you got DT working hard. Brittany Griner's having a great season. This might be one of the best, or if not the best season of her career. Breonna Turner has to play better for them. And they'll probably have to ask more from Kia Vaughn, too. And there's really not much that Phoenix can do that I can see that would get them back in the finals. I told James it's a sweep, and I never predict sweeps, but I think it's a sweep, Bree. I think it's a sweep.
Woo. That'll be bad Friday if they can make
Close
it
it out
happen.
at home.
Yeah. Right quick. I want to add. You brought up Diamond. Do you think that we've been sort of waiting on her to reemerge in the postseason? Do you think that that's going to be needed for them to clinch, or do you think that they could get by without it?
To a degree, she's still got to be. She's still got to affect the game in some way. It's usually on the defensive side of the ball, where I think she looked not great against Dallas. I think she got 5 fouls in that game, but she hasn't been in foul trouble really that I can recall since then. And even if she hasn't gotten on the scoreboard to a great degree, she's affected the game defensively, which is good. She's athletic enough to do that. She still runs the floor and can get outlet passes. She's just not right now in the position to score, 15 or 16 points a game. I don't want to look too far in the future, but I know hers is cloudy with the team. In my opinion, sorry, let me back that up. I don't have.
I was saying you got some inside info there.
No, I was like, I don't have any background info from the team. If you look to the other writers for that, because I'm not privy to that information. But it's hard to see a place when the Sky are coming up against the salary cap, and Kalia Copper is going to get money. It's going to be hard for Diamond to find a place when she's coming to the end of her contract. If this just isn't a place where she can reach her potential, which sucks. 2 years ago, it looked like she was going to be that person for them going forward. And it's not anything, I think, with the emergence of Copper. I don't think that that's diminished it. But it's hard to see how she fits outside of the spot that she's in, unless Allie Quigley decides to call it a career, which I don't see her doing yet. I think she's got a couple good years left for the style she plays. And honestly, it might be better for Diamond to find a new spot where she can grow, where she can bloom the way that she should, because she's a player with a ton of potential.
You're right, man. And you make such a good point, man, about like where things looked to be a couple years ago, and like it was like, Diamond has had more of the pedigree behind her, being the child of an athlete and everything. She was a McDonald's All-American, Diamond was, and everything. She played, high profile in college and stuff. So she was, looking like a person who's definitely going to be a big part of the Sky's future. But Kalia just has emerged so big in the past couple of years, and especially in this playoff run. If you had to, if you asked me to choose between one of the two, I'm gonna have to go with Kalia, go with KFC. And one of the red times I choose KFC over Popeyes.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I want to mention. You talk about another one of the possible insiders or the people who are really on the Sky beat, Annie Constable. She wrote a nice feature today about the trade that brought Kalia Copper to Chicago, and that was I didn't realize this. It was the trade that got Elena Delle Donne to Washington. Copper came back with Dolson in that one. I remember Dolson being in that trade, but I didn't remember Copper being in it. And yeah, that was, you know, you look at a trade that changed the direction of a team, you know, even in such a bad situation where you had to give up arguably the best player in the league at that time, you know, but you get, you get two players back who have really become part of the heart of the team, and Copper is, you know, potentially still rising as a talent. You know, it's really interesting to look at and really was crucial to the development of this team as it was reforming itself after, you know, sort of falling back from that 2014 finals run.
Yeah, it was the Sky and their fans were in a tough spot with that because they had Sylvia Fowles 2 years earlier, and she asked out. Like, she held out for a while before she got traded to Minnesota. And that 2014 finals team, they had brought in a lot of talent to build around that core of Fowles. And then I think they got Deladon the year before that, or possibly that year. And they had Epiphany Prince, who's a great scorer, Swin Cash, and they got Cappy Pondexter. And it was, you know, they got swept out of that finals, but it was supposed to be a building block. Instead, Fowles asks out, and then a couple years later, Deladon asks out. And it's one of those situations for fans where it's like, why don't people want to stick around here? And you see two transcendent talents like that leave. Dallas has been in that spot, the Dallas Wings, because they had the same thing happen with Liz Cambage. She pretty much left the WNBA for a couple years until she got picked up by the Aces. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith was there, and she asked out to go to Phoenix. So the Sky were in a tough spot, and it was always looking back at that trade, especially because they didn't beat Washington after the trade until 2019. And I think that was 8 games that they played against them, and they lost every game. So it was it was a touchstone. And now to be in this spot, knowing, I mean, they knew that those were going to be good players, but it was always something that you kind of looked back at like, man, it was real messy. Both of those departures were extremely messy. And now they're on the cusp of a finals with the players that they got back. And so it worked out for Washington because they got that championship, which they deserved. They were far and away the best team the year they won. And if it works out for the Sky, it'll finally be in the rearview mirror, because even for James Wade, who legitimately doesn't care about stuff like that, especially because he wasn't here, the question's been asked and he has to brush it off. But I think it'll be cathartic for him, and it'll be especially cathartic for Dolson and Copper, who came over in the trade, and for Vandersloot and Quigley, who were here for that finals.
It really worked out.
How often? But besides you, I'm just gonna say right quick, how often does that happen though, when you have such a trade? You know, including you know, it's seemingly a trade at the time, but it winds up leading potentially to championships on both sides of the trade. You know, you don't see that too often in sports.
Yeah, I can't think of a time where it actually, like, there was a trade like that wasn't lopsided or didn't look bad in the future with hindsight for one side or the other. Some of that is just the size of the league, I think. When you have a 12-team league and European basketball is still so strong, then you're going to have potentially the best of the best playing. And had I been watching more women's college ball at that time, I probably could have told you that Kalia Copper would have been as good as she is, if not better. Just you see the same things that she's doing here that she was doing at Rutgers, with a better jump shot. And Steph Dolson, I mean, she had pedigree coming out of UConn. She was an all-star with Washington. So you figured that those two players were going to be solid. You're just giving up, you know, a great player for two very good players.
Yeah. I was going to say that the way that this trade has worked out for the Sky, you know, both in theory when it happened, and now as Copper has kind of developed into the player that she's become, it's the best you can hope for when you're giving up the best player in that deal. And something that we'll talk about, I'm sure, later, is similar to what the Sixers can hope to get for Ben Simmons. You're probably not gonna get a talent back in return that you're giving up, but you just hope to get 2-3 players that can contribute to winning basketball. And like you guys said, for this trade to have kind of been part of the foundation of what could be a championship, can't ask for no more than that, man.
No,
that's a good point, Drew. Because you know
I can't.
you can say oh sorry, you know, and on the on the surface that like you're not gonna get equal value, you know, an Elena Dodon or Ben Simmons, but you may get back something if you work a deal right here. You still can improve in some ways by elimination. You know, the chemistry that you have with one guy can be different than the chemistry that you have with the two guys you get back or the draft pick that you may get if that's included in the deal or something like that. You know, team chemistry be a funny thing. It's not always an obvious thing where it's, you know, let me just get all the talent that I can get and I'll run through everybody. We've seen teams that have had an abundance of talent that didn't reach their goals. So, you know, it's a lot of in basketball, a lot of it has to do with who knows what roles who accepts the roles that they're in, who can perform at the runs. What's that type of, like I said, that mixture of talents that are playing next to each other, as opposed to just having the best five on the court.
And I can't remember who said it, who made it plain, but Amber Stocks drafted Diamond DeShields, and she drafted I think it wasn't that trade. There's somebody else on the roster that I'm blanking on.
Currently on the roster?
Yeah, there's somebody else that she picked up in that draft. I don't think she made the Copper trade because Pokey Chapman was here for that.
Yeah, let me see. It might be in this story.
Maybe it was Stocks. Maybe it was Amber Stocks who picked up Kalia Copper in that deal. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But somebody was saying that Amber Stocks had a good eye for talent. I think that was Allison.
Yeah, it does say that she was the coach then. She was the coach then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So you gotta give Amber Stocks credit.
The next year she drafted Diamond Williams.
Yes, that's what it was. And we can't forget how that didn't pan out. And that's still going to be something looking forward. You know, a championship always is a balm for a lot of different cuts. But, you know, whatever happens in the offseason is going to be looked at very sharply in terms of James Wade and his draft record. He did pick up Azurá Stevens in a nice trade. He basically got Azurá Stevens for nothing, considering that he traded a Stu Due and I think a draft pick and got a Stu Due back for a similar draft pick and got Dana Evans from Dallas. I'm not going to talk about Dallas, but they do a lot of weird stuff. But that was very astute. That was very astute of him to pick up Z because she's played she's showing her potential. She can be a big time player in this league right now. But Amber Stocks definitely deserves a lot of credit for the players that she added to this roster, even though she didn't have a good record as coach. You know, some people are just better eyes for talent, and some people are better coaches, and some special people can do both.
Sure. All right. Well, right quick, I'm gonna move. To transition to the GOAT battle. Right quick, what do you think? What do you expect, or sort of feel should happen tomorrow in game 2, Chris?
Sophie Cunningham is a quality shooter. She's getting better every season. Plus, she's an agitator. She is a very good agitator on a team with Diana Taurasi, which is so funny because she's one of the best out there at getting under your skin. She will never shy away from an argument. And I'm gonna come out and say it. Sophie probably leans MAGA, but she's on the court. Actually, I'm not gonna say probably. I think it's pretty well known at this point. She leans MAGA, but the Sky are gonna have to deal with that. Fortunately, they haven't had much trouble with getting out of their game emotionally this season, whether it's with foul trouble or execution, or having problems on the court with other teams. They haven't fallen into that trap. But I expect Phoenix to come out and definitely try to get looks for her, especially if she comes in off the bench, and get more touches for Brittany Griner. She had 15 shots, but they still got to feed her more because she should be, when she's going right, indefensible. She should not be able to be defended by any team. Either you're going to foul her, or she's going to put it in, or you hope she misses. The Sky have done very well at doubling and helping, especially off the weak side. They'll bring a guard down from the top rather than bring over the other post player so to prevent any passes, because BG passes very well. But I think Phoenix is going to try and get her more touches, get Breonna Turner more touches, and on the Sky side, they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. I don't see anything different. I think that the bench has to step up, and they're going to be communicated that they can't let leads slip like they did in the fourth quarter on Sunday, because the game didn't get close, but Phoenix went on a late run to keep it interesting. And championship teams, they got to be on. They got to be on the whole time. But like I said, I still think that the Sky take it, and then they come back to Chicago. And
yeah, you got the sweep going.
Pop champagne, man. Pop it.
I ain't mad at you, man. It definitely could happen. They win Wednesday. It definitely could happen. We'll see.
What did Chris Rock say? What did Chris Rock say on Idols become rivals? We out here drinking this rosé, Bel Air rosé.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you talk about idols, there's a couple of series, and Diana Taurasi is getting some shine at the moment, because she's been voted on as by fans in a fan poll as the greatest of time in the league. They've announced this coming on the top 25 players in the league history for its 25th anniversary. And in the series, you got, what do you have? 3 of those players series? You got Taurasi, Candace, and Brittany Griner. So you got representation, current representation in this finals. Nice little thing at game 1 where they acknowledged the rest of the players. They brought back the players who have retired, and they had a halftime celebration for them. So that was real cool. And we talked a little bit some weeks ago about these players and who you could have in that argument for the greatest of all time. And I saw some interesting tweets on Sunday, sort of bigging up Candace and saying that she may have a better argument for herself if she's able to win this series and essentially beat Taurasi in the series. Taurasi would still have 3 titles, even if she don't win this one, to Candace's 2 if Candace wins this series. But I kind of think that Candace may have an edge in the impact of her titles, both in LA and in Chicago, a first ever title in Chicago. And a lot of it is narrative, and what do you prefer, and what do you prefer as far as a narrative and stuff, coming back home and all this and that. But as far as the impact goes and the crossover appeal, I think means a lot in regards to the WNBA and its story, for its first 25 years, because the crossover appeal hasn't been as much as people who back the league would like. But in Candace, you have one of the few players who really has that crossover appeal and that respect in the men's community as well as the women's community. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What are you guys' thoughts on this whole, on this whole thing, potentially pitting one GOAT against the other? Are there multiple GOATs? Is Diana Taurasi the GOAT, or is there someone else from the history of the league who you would rather see up there as as that person to represent the league?
So I mean, personally, I'm 38, so I voted for Cynthia Cooper. Cynthia Cooper is my GOAT just because that's kind of the foundation of the league. They're winning 3 titles with the Comets. I think she led them in scoring 2 out of those 3 years. I think Swoops got it 1 year. But no disrespect to Taurasi or Candace Parker. I think it's not a Michael Jordan NBA type thing where one player is clearly just kind of dominated the conversation for so many years. It's different. I don't know if there's one player that has separated themselves that much away from anybody else you want to throw in that conversation, even though I just said Cooper. I think it's different for whoever is watching and kind of judging what they see with their eyes. And when they started following WNBA, I think, I don't know, man, that's a tough conversation to have. I think the fact that you have 3 of those top 25 in this series is nothing but a great thing for the WNBA. Great storylines, great narratives, 2 very different types of players. Going back to the NBA comparisons, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Phil, but Taurasi is kind of more like the Kobe, where Candace Parker I kind of liken her to a KG, where she can score, but she's giving you so many other different things. Not that Taurasi can't, but Candace's game is a little different, a little more well-rounded. That's not to say Kobe's better than KG the other way around. It's the eye to beholder type thing. But I went for Coop, and I think that Taurasi and Parker and Griner being in this series is great for the WNBA.
It's good. It's good to have that memory going back to, I'm with you as far as the age goes and remembering what it was like when the WNBA first started and how dominant those Houston teams were. It's a shame that they don't have the league doesn't currently have a team in Houston, because a lot of that history is being lost, the longer that we get away from it. But those were some great teams they represented, and that was a time when the league was getting shown on NBC and stuff as part of the package that the league had at the time with NBA. So they were getting on. I think it was still a lot of. I think the league is more entrenched now and more respected now than it was then. But though the league was able to get some good shine in its beginning years, and you were able to see teams like Houston on national TV on NBC and see them win. I remember those games vividly. So you're looking at a Cynthia Cooper and looking at the impact that a player like she had. And now in those 90s players, that sort of class of 90s players who were able to take advantage of the emergence of the Olympics, from the 96 team in particular and the 2000 team, they really did a lot to establish dominance for the American program, the women's basketball program. And then, like I said, when they weren't doing that, they were showing out in the WNBA. Players like Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Swoops, and these were players who, were, in the basketball community, they were making themselves into bold-faced names. We definitely got to give it up to those players and not forget them, as well as these players who are still around now. When you look at a Taurasi though and a Sue Bird, though, these are players who were able to work off of the legacy, those initial legacies, and also have a lot of longevity. Like, uh, like longevity for 20 years. They've been playing and they've been in the spotlight as well. So it's interesting that they still get to bridge sort of the end of that 90s era and play all the way up to today. So that's meaningful too.
For sure.
I think it's tough to name a greatest of all time in this. First, I don't think it's Diana Taurasi. I just don't. No disrespect to DT. She is probably the first person that I really remember glomming onto, like hearing and thinking, this is the face of UConn, this team that beats every fucking body. Like DT was the first person I really associated with UConn beating everyone. Rebecca Lobo was the first person I associated with UConn basketball, but they were still kind of neck and neck with Stanford and Tennessee at that point in time. I think Tennessee might have been better still when Rebecca Lobo was there at UConn.
I think you're right.
Once they got Diana and then Sue Bird, it was just like it was wild, bro. It was like curtains. Like if they didn't win, it was a surprise. Mm-hmm. You know, that was the thing about that, and just college basketball. It was them and everybody else who was about 5 steps back. Mm-hmm. I just, going back and looking at it, and it, whatever criteria you want to use in this argument is so difficult, especially when there's players still playing. Because Diana's done a lot. Diana's done a hell of a lot in her career. She's 40. She's still playing at a high level. She's still playing at this high level while she's injured. She got 2 kids. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody, I think, to still be doing this. And all the external stuff that the league is just now, that the Players Association is just now fighting for and getting brick by brick in terms of charter flights, maternity leave, higher salaries, all of that. But I don't know if she's better than Lisa Leslie. I don't know if she's better than Lauren Jackson. I don't know if she's better than Cheryl Swoops, and I can say the same for Candace. I don't know if she is better than any of those players that I mentioned necessarily. They've just had a longer career in a more visible time. And that in itself is why it's hard for me. I think if you ask me the same question in 97 and I'm this age and not 9, I don't know if I say Michael Jordan because I have more perspective. And I can go back and talk about, well, Bird and Magic did this, and Kareem just retired, 9 years ago or 8 years ago. So I don't know if we can call this dude the best of all time yet.
Your frame of reference would date back to the 70s. Yeah.
Exactly. If I'm 33 years old in 97, I've seen a lot of basketball, albeit on a grainy TV with rabbit ears, but I've seen it. I think when you say multiple, there can be multiple GOATs. There's greatest of all time by nature of the language.
I appreciate you saying that because I just threw that out there as a discussion, but I believe that too. And people really, when people talk about this multiple GOAT stuff, they're really saying this is my favorite. But you everybody want to argue their favorite greatest over everybody, but that's not the case. There's only one GOAT. I'm glad you said that.
And it's just say that player is your favorite player. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that this player is your favorite. Nobody's going to say that Derrick Rose is the best basketball player ever. But plenty of people are going to say he's one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable that they saw. And that's good. That's fine. That's personal to you. And it's still going to be the same for me. I made so many people Bulls fans in 2011 just by telling them, you got to see what this dude is doing. I was in Peoria. I made people who didn't give a fuck about basketball care about the Bulls because Derrick Rose was so memorable. And that's going to be the same for people who watch Diana do what she's done and do what she's doing now. But I don't know if she's the GOAT. And I got to say that what we get now and what the league is smartly doing to exploit that is there's so much of an emphasis on making big decisions, big calls immediately, putting them up on social media and being like, yo, this is already this good without necessarily taking time to evaluate and parse it first. If Alfredo comes out, Alfredo is not a classic the instant you finish listening to it. That Freddie Gibbs album, it might be really good, but you don't know it's a classic yet. Even if you've listened to it once, that album has to stand the test of time. And that's the same with these players. Dawn Staley has stood the test of time because she was that great and because we've had time to evaluate her not just as a basketball player, but now as a basketball coach. Diana Taurasi's been in the league like she has. Sue Bird's been in the league like she has for so many years. Sure, we've had some time, but they're still playing, so we can't evaluate their careers right now. And you still got to take that in the context of the players who came before them and set shit up. Sorry, man, I'm getting real hype on this. I was going to get this excited. But just that idea of talking about the greatest of all time has gotten so murky and so filled with a pain, like the unwillingness to collaborate on the criteria.
The goalposts changed a lot, especially in the NBA side.
Yes, it's like what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, there's been some fantastic players, and it's cool. Like there would always be, if you had a top, once you get to the top 50, the W at 50, there'll be some players who are still playing who will be out there getting those jackets like they did the other night. But I don't think or know if they'll be the greatest yet unless they have done things that nobody else in the league has done, unless they're like, say, top 10 dead or alive or top 5 dead or alive at that point in time. Then maybe you could look at them as the greatest of all time within that league. But I don't.
How are they? It's sort of like I think the criteria in a general sense with like Hall of Famers, like, you know, how do you tell the narrative of the league or of the sport without this person?
Yeah,
you know, if you can't do that, then that's a pretty good way to start in regards to, you know, judging whether a person is of that level, because they're that important to the game, to the progression of the game, element of the game, and everything. So, and it's interesting. You mentioned like 25 more years ahead for the WNBA. The NBA is in that current right now too, where you had the NBA's 50 back in the mid 90s, and that was a lot of content around that. Now we're up to the 70 or the late 90s. Late 90s. But now we're up to 75, and they're going to be releasing a top 75 this year. So now, and in this goddamn NBA Twitter era, it's going to be madness, man.
Bro,
when that list comes out, it's going to be
number
madness.
15 on that list. Just wait for it.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of slaughtering out here, man, in these Twitter streets, man, because people gonna be on some wild shit. But it's gonna be we definitely gonna have some discussions about that coming up. You know, who's where on that list, and you know what era is being represented and what's not being represented, and you know, it's that's the type of stuff that the NBA likes, I think, to engender amongst its most fervent fandom in this media and stuff. So that's
Twitter's gonna blow up. They are already up in arms about the top 100. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's Jordan Poole in this argument? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's nothing more useless than those off-season lists, these top 100 lists every year. Like, you don't need to do those lists every year. It's like, those lists are so worthless, man. But like you say, people get worked up by them.
Yeah. I eat it up. I like it. I like, you know, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. But some of those publications really do. Like, I understand how tough of a challenge it could be. Like, I respect those guys specifically at SI that go through this process every year. So I get some enjoyment out of it, and I kind of toss it out on Twitter to see what people's opinions are. But yeah, man, it's gonna be wild times, man. Are they doing that All-Star Weekend like they did before?
I'm not sure, but they probably will. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, man. It's gonna be a rocking February again, boy.
Oh man. And like I said, man, the leagues are smart about doing that because with controversy comes eyes. With controversy comes exposure.
Yeah.
So there's not really anything bad about it in terms of what are you looking at? It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's all in good fun, but some people can just be annoying when it comes to what they argue and stuff. So I just want to see where people go and stuff. Cause I just, for me, mostly it's about respecting every era of the league, and of course there's certain ways in which athleticism and skill level have improved over time, but I think we talk about the best of the best who played the game. I think you talk about a sort of timelessness that's there with their game. With how can you say that Elgin Baylor can't play today, or Larry Bird, or Jerry West, or whatever? Like, these guys could play in any era of the game, just like LeBron can. LeBron probably would dominate crazy in the 60s or 70s, but he's it doesn't mean that the guys who did dominate that time wouldn't have done any who the guys who dominated or defined that time wouldn't have also placed in another time and era. So that's all I say about that for now. But let's move on right quick. Get to the Bulls. Three preseason games. We're gonna get definitely more into the Bulls and really by next week, but because the NBA season is gonna be pretty much starting next week, so we got to get back into the Bulls. But it's it's not a thing where it's interesting because it's like the sky have taken up so much of our attention because we love basketball in general. We're not just male basketball guys, but but the Bulls are actually worth, like, you could look at their preseason games and be entertained by them now. It's like, I don't know how much you guys have watched, but these preseason games have been fun to watch, and they got a team that they're showing themselves to be very adept at working with each other already. Like, the way that they're moving the ball amongst each other, they're scoring at a pretty high level. Two of the games were against Cleveland, but I'm really excited for this regular season and to see these guys going.
Yeah, with no emphasis on no, with no apologies to John Hollinger. There is something to be taken. There's something to be taken from these games. I don't care who they're playing against. It's important that you develop good habits. So even if we're not looking at the point totals, the Bulls they force at least no less than 17 turnovers in all three of these games. They've got the second best assist turnover ratio behind New York. Javonte Green has played almost to the point, or actually to the point now, where people on Twitter are like, "Man, is he going to take Patrick Williams' starting spot?" Like, he's played that well.
He's looked good.
At worst, he's played himself to being the first wing off the bench, which is saying a whole lot considering I don't remember anybody really saying his name before the preseason started. Ayo Dosunmu coming in the last game, scoring 9 points in 4 minutes, a bucket to put him up, another bucket to kind of salt away the win. Those things are big, even if he spends a lot of time with the Windy City Bulls, which is, I think, what Rob Schaefer said he kind of expects for Ayo to be kind of bouncing back and forth. But there's still
Rob Schaefer was on with us last week. Check that out.
Yep, absolutely. There's still, even though it was against the Cavs, it was against a very shorthanded Pelicans team, it was against the Cavs again. There's things that can be taken from those games that can translate to the regular season. I mean, would we rather have it the other way around, where we're 0-3 and we're like, well, damn, these moves don't seem to be making any type of difference. One of the only things that I guess is a little bit of a drawback, but nobody should really be too worried about it, is Vucevic is like, I think before No. I think actually, as it stands right now, has not hit a three yet. He's taken 13 threes and hasn't hit one. But you expect this guy. He's a phenomenal shooter for his size, for anybody really. You expect him to start to click. This dude is like the hub actually of the offense. If there's nothing to be gleaned from what I'm saying, if there's nothing to be taken in transition with Lonzo Ball, they pull that ball back out and it's Ball and DeRozan and Levine running pick and rolls with Vucevic. That's like their offense with some side actions going on with that. But yeah, man, I'm excited.
Defense is gonna have a hard time. Team, man.
They really are.
Switch offs and everything. The things you got to do to keep up.
That's right. And Alex Caruso looks huge defensively. This team is going to be better than I think what a lot of people, national pundits, are kind of not really giving the Bulls their just desserts based on the summer activity that they had. But I'm expecting some pretty good things. Whereas, that 46 win total I was predicting beforehand looks like it might either be right on the money or even a little bit shy of what they can get to. But again, I'm a Bulls observer / Bulls fan. So these things, some of it might be a little emotional for me.
Well, I think you giving them credit too because you looking at them. You're actually looking at them. I think a lot of folks, say national or whatever. You looking at the whole league, and you giving more. They don't admit it, but they ain't looking at everybody in the same way. So, it over time, I think the Bulls are going to have to force people to look at them in a certain way, and that's going to come with wins and good performances against good teams and stuff like that. And I think by the end of this year, they could be seen in a much different light. For now, let them sleep. That'll make it even sweeter when the Bulls do creep up on everybody and everybody's got to recognize just who they are. And like I say, that could very well happen this year.
Yeah, they got to do what the Knicks did last year. You got to show and prove.
I mean, you got to earn it. You got to. We've seen this Bulls administration come in and they have to rebuild not just the team, but they have to rebuild the reputation from what the last administration did to it. The Bulls got national attention when they had that series against Boston because it looked like they were building something. They haven't had a playoff series like that yet. So I can't, Drew, I feel you. I told my guy that they might get 45 and, that's 8 over 500. And he was like, now you're giving me a lot. Like you're going to get me thinking like they're going to really be good, this 45 wins. But I haven't watched a lot. I watched the second half of that first preseason game against Cleveland. And, it's a preseason game against Cleveland, but you're right. They look like they were clicking in a lot of different phases. I have never been a Lonzo Ball fan, but he's a shooter now. And so I got to eat that crow. He's still the same distributor that he was, who can see those angles. And he can shoot the basketball. So that's going to be a boon to help. I don't know if Alex Caruso is exactly that dude, like Lakers fans were saying he was, and like my guy Dan Meehan says he is in terms of defense. But he'll be an asset for sure. And they have the formations of a good team. But it's not time for national recs yet. Even in the East, even with whatever's going on in Brooklyn and the fact that Boston is always kind of under deserving, not as deserving of the plaudits that they might get. The Bulls got to earn it. The Bulls got to earn it back. So if they come out and they, win a healthy amount of games over this first half of the season, if they win like 15 of their first 25, then I'll be on board. And I think people will have to give them a look because those will be some wins against some quality teams. There's no circus anymore, but the circus trip is not easy this year at all.
Right. They say that's such a good thing. It's a good measuring mark, to have to go on that West Coast trip in that first month. And, I think they got some games early on that they could pick off. Like I think they played Detroit a couple games. And so that's important too, because you don't want to see them play down to opponents. So if they could keep a certain level of play against the bad teams and then go out play some better teams and like I say compete with them and maybe knock off a couple of them as well, then we should be seeing the improvement that we wanted to see and that we want to see in this roster. And so yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see how things go. And like I said, I think next week we'll try to our official Bulls, preview and all that as the NBA. And hopefully by then we'll be wrapping up the WNBA stuff with a Sky championship session. So that's pretty much where all we go now. But before we go, I just want to get some thoughts. Of course, the twin holdout stories, as it were, in the NBA. Both of those have sort of taken up a lot of the discussions in the past day or two. Like Monday, it was about Ben Simmons sort of seemingly coming back into the fold with Philly, and today it was about Brooklyn sort of laying the law down on Kyrie, saying, "Look, you either gonna play for us all our games. You either gonna be available for us with all our games. But we know he ain't gonna play all. They're gonna be available for us all the games, but you're not. It's not gonna be this half and half shit. We're not gonna be keeping seeing if you can play on the road and when you can't play in New York and all that. So." I'm just saying I'm right with them. I'm all about player empowerment. I'm about player freedom and stuff. But like this stuff with Kyrie just blows me, man. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't give any good reasons for his trepidation with not getting the vaccine. And thank you. The vaccine does it, like he's making this stand, and all it's doing is creating a lot of dissension, I think, and drama amongst this team that should be focused on how it can secure a championship this year. And in a lot of ways, you could say that they maybe can do it without him, but it's like I say, I don't think he's being a leader. I don't think he's being very thoughtful with this. And like I said, if I was the owner or the general manager in that situation, I said a couple weeks ago, and you're not willing to, you're actively willing to give up half your games, then essentially you're willing to give all you, because I'm not going, like I said, I'm not going to have a part-time player when there's no reason for you not to be. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah,
you got it, Drew. Go ahead. My fault.
No, you good. I appreciate some of Kyrie's free thinking and some of the things that he did. This is a guy that gave up some of his salary to give to WNBA players who didn't go to the Wubble to help kind of support them financially. But I'm so glad that the Nets kind of drew this line in the sand, man, because this thing was going to be a distraction for the entire season with this guy not being able to play in home games. So now it's on him. Are you going to get the vaccine and live up to your contract, live up to, I guess, the responsibilities that you probably made to James Harden, to Kevin Durant, to other guys on that team, to Steve Nash, a guy that you put in, you vouched for to want to coach this team, to want to coach you. Like this isn't just an individual decision anymore for anybody who is choosing not to get vaccinated. This affects everybody else, family, friends, strangers. In terms of Kyrie, it's affecting his team and their ability to be able to put the best product on the floor and achieve the goal that those three guys set for themselves when they all decided to play with each other. James Harden coming on late. So I'm glad that the Nets put this line in the sand for him. I'm interested to see where this goes from here. If he decides that it's in his best interest to do it and to pursue this this threesome with those guys in pursuit of a championship, because he was doing some of this last year. This, I'm not playing this game, or I'm gonna sit out these few games. And while I appreciate him being human and having that right, especially if there's something going on mental health wise and needing some time to back off, I felt like he was doing that a little bit in excess last season.
Taking advantage.
Yeah. Thank you. And in terms of Ben Simmons,
my chi isn't right, so my chi isn't right, so I'm not gonna play today.
Right. And in terms of Ben Simmons, I guess he's coming back to try to rehab his image, but at the same point, even him doing that, the Sixers still don't have any leverage. So I don't see how there's not going to be an awkward situation with him and his teammates. I don't know, man. It's a strange situations going on in the Eastern Conference right now in the NBA.
It'll be so awkward in Philly, man. It's like, but they should have known. Like, look, okay, this is not going to be settled in the off season. Like, let's go ahead and get into the season. Like, for there's a reclamation that's involved with Ben. The last time we saw him, dude was giving up 2-foot bunnies in a game 7. Yeah. So you can't just be coming out of that and be like, oh, hey, I'm out here, y'all. Hey, save me from Philly, because they being mean to me. No, out there and ball and show yourself, show your value again. And then teams are gonna come hawking for you. They're gonna come and see you, because if the beef is still there, the beef is still gonna be there. We know that, because Ben is too much of a mid-millennial kid to give up the being, like I said, he can't get over what the reaction that Philadelphia gave to him. And Philly, don't really trust him as the team. Like, regardless of what they say in more recent times, Doc don't really trust him, and Embiid don't trust him. So just put it. This is where this is what it means to be professional. It means aside personal feelings at certain times and doing the work that you being paid to do. And sometimes you got to maneuver a bit. Sometimes you got to be a little, fake, or little. You got to be a little less than real at some point with these things. But you got to think about what's best going ahead. You got to be thinking some steps ahead. And nobody really did that in this situation. Nobody understood that. Like, look, yeah, we can reclaim this to a certain degree and put ourselves in a situation where we can all benefit from it by the trade deadline coming up in this next season, and then we'll say, like I said, we'll do a part and see each other down the road. But as it stands now, like you say, Drew, they're in this awkward position. Simmons has to slink back. There's only so much time he wants to spend with Kendall Jenner. He's probably going to admit that, but he got to get back into the game. The Sixers need him, at least for the time being. And like I say, eventually, I think this has to end where he'll get dealt at some point during the season by a team that, whatever their expectations were or are at this point today, they may change by January or February. So, like I say, we'll see what happens. But
yeah, it's something to be said for a change of scenery, but at the same point, the whole world kind of sees who Ben Simmons is as a player. So no matter where he goes, these free throw issues are going to follow him. Him passing up that bunny to give it to Thibault is going to follow him no matter where he goes, no matter who he's playing for. These troubles aren't going anywhere. Last thing before I pass it over to Chris, like, at least with Kobe and Shaq, they were winning championships while griping. Like, Ben Simmons and Embiid, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons could have rehabbed his image by taking that layup. Ben Simmons could have rehabbed his image by learning how to shoot a jump shot. Ben Simmons could have rehabbed his image by not getting his ass cooked by Trae Young enough. Ben Simmons could have done so many things to rehab his image before now. So him going back with his tail between his legs is just it's contrition. Now he's got to reprove himself to his teammates. And like you said, Kyle, it might already be too late if they ship him out in the middle of the season. So other teams see everything that he did. And this isn't the case of just like, meatball fans and sports radio hosts are like, oh, this dude isn't good because we don't like him. Ben Simmons has objectively proven that he is mid. Ben Simmons is Hydrox. Ben Simmons is Hydrox cookies, bro. He's duplexes. And he needs to prove that his pedigree is worth it. Like that's it for me. The Kyrie thing, there's no point in addressing that. I want Scoop to come on the show so that he can give us some more insight, because I believe Scoop that he knows Kyrie and has spoken with him and has insight into his character, because the stuff that he's doing and saying does not make sense unless you think of it as that one dude that you play like Call of Duty with, that you don't do anything with outside of that, because he's going to say some wild shit. Like you just play COD with him.
You got the bad conspiracy theories on deck.
Bro, man, he's like, yo, that like Pop-Tarts is made from MK Ultra. It was developed in that program or some shit like that. Like I saw a headline that said that Kyrie isn't against vaccine mandates. He's against people losing their jobs because of vaccine mandates, which means that nigga is against vaccine mandates, man. Just say that you believe that they're putting a microchip in your arm and be done with it and take the consequences. That's what my therapist told me, man. Be cool with the consequences of your actions.
Right.
Be cool with it. Like there's nothing else that he needs to say. If he thinks that he can do something else and say the things that he's saying, then he might as well do that, because being ignorant is not going to help him play more basketball at this point. It's just not.
It's well said, Chris. Well said. I just hope these brothers figure it out and do what's best for them and what's best for their teams, and eventually, like I said, they got some stuff to figure out, but we'll be documented as it along, see how it goes along with Ben and BEEN and of course the of course the almighty Kyrie. We'll definitely be privy to his. Like I say, he's been sort of radio silent with this, man. I would like to, for like you say, Chris, for him to speak more, but I don't think he has much to say. So in the end, either you got to respect the team that you with, respect the game, or step aside, like you say. So it's really not that complicated. We're gonna keep it to that for now, and wrap up this show. Another great show, guys. Get you guys sitting in with me, and like I say, Wednesday, game 2 of the WNBA finals. So looking forward to that. Game 3 will be Friday here in Chicago. Possible game 4 will be Sunday here in Chicago. So next time we see you, we'll be talking about those games. I think me and Chris will probably be there on Friday and maybe Sunday as well if that's necessary. But it's going to be a lot going on. Like I say, next week the NBA is going to be getting going. So I think I'm going to try to get a special guest or two to sit in with us. But we'll see. Hopefully Josh will be back with us. He had to take care of some stuff today, but we'll see him down the road as well. But anytime, guys, anything you want to shout out? Any right quick? I know you just had a new episode of Skyhook put out, right, Chris?
Yeah, we haven't had any guests, and I don't know if we'll have any guests in the coming months or days, I should say. But always follow the Skyhook at Skyhookin on Twitter. And it's the Skyhook Pod on Instagram. I mean, a lot of things are coming to fruition for us, which is cool. And James is the one who had the show, asked me on the show when I was just doing like Above the Clouds for myself and for WARR. And this thing's taken off, man. A lot of good people are following us, and you're seeing a lot of good bylines. So that's real dope, honestly. And and anything that we
you
can do
said
to help
you setting up your run down Stony Island.
Yeah, I got to do it. Especially if they win the damn thing, I got to do it, man. A man can't back out of a bet, man. A grown person can't welsh on a bet. For everybody out there, so if you're willing to say it or if you're willing to put it up, you better be willing to follow through. And, Hey man, Kyle, I saw you got on at NBC Sports, so congratulations on that. That's big time too. That's big time
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be helping. Like I say, helping the stuff over there. So I'm a teammate as well of Rob Shape. Like I said, Rob Shape we had on the show last week. Casey Johnson. So I'm be hobnobbing a little bit. Maybe we'll get KC on the show eventually too. So we'll see about that going forward. Like I say, I try to make it work and make it beneficial for what we doing as well, definitely. And I may not be, like I say, I may not be at every show going forward, but because there may be times where I may be busy with that work, but I want the show to keep on and you guys to keep having your platform to talk about the game and stuff. So and Josh as well. So say nothing's changing with WARR and running with WARR for the time being. But I'm definitely happy to have this opportunity, and definitely, like I say, gonna make it work. So that's doing, man. We keeping it moving, we thriving, and definitely keep following my guys. I said it yesterday. Eventually, Drew gonna be doing some big time stuff too. He's already doing some big time stuff, really, but definitely want Drew to be shining. So read his stuff right now on WARR Ready Substack and on his other platforms as well. You still doing your own, right?
Nah, it's just time, man. I don't have enough time to keep up with that, man. Yeah, so it's strictly on our Substack for right now.
Okay. Well, hey, you gotta get you paid too, man. I know you got your other thing. I'll let you speak on your other stuff, but you're gonna see Drew. You're gonna see Drew name and his byline on some other spots too pretty soon.
Yeah, I might have some announcements later on. We'll gotta sort through it first, man. But if you guys did not check out last night's Monday Night Memes, please go back and do that. Kyle and I had Phil Thompson on and Ken Davis, some phenomenal conversations, good times. Please go back and watch that.
Yeah, definitely. Monday at 6:30 on live, me and Drew. So check us out there as well. But for now, enjoy the games, y'all. Enjoy your week. Keep safe out here, and keep bouncing, y'all. We'll talk to y'all later.